the time came to serve after my freshman season of basketball, and it was an easy decision. I knew what I needed to do, and I felt that desire and need to serve. But I did still have doubts. I doubted myself and my capabilities, and if I could leave basketball and leave my family and leave everything that I had ever known. But I knew in my heart that there was someone out there that needed me and needed my service, and I felt that my testimony could help someone, and so I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot to, because I don't know, those doubts, I guess, still crept in, and so I prayed for my desire and my want to serve, to grow. That's what I wanted, and I had a few experiences. I talked with lots of people, and little by little that desire grew really big, right up until the time I left, and I knew that a mission was going to be a blessing for me and my family, and to everyone that I would serve. When I got back from my mission, I felt like I was a better basketball player, which is crazy and hard to believe. But I felt like I was blessed to know the game better, or I don't know what it was, but I felt better about myself out on the basketball court, and I think that was a big blessing, and made me realize that Heavenly Father was aware of my situation, and that a little sacrifice, He would take care of me on the back end. And I think for a lot of kids out there, it's tough to give up something, and it's tough to sacrifice something. But I've always believed that if you put Heavenly Father first and put His plan first, that He's going to take care of you. And it's hard to see that on the back end. And I'm not going to lie, like, it was really hard to get back in shape and start playing ball again. I can remember the first pickup game I got in. I caught the ball, and I think I traveled, and I didn't know what to do with it. So, I mean, slowly it came back, and I had a really good sophomore season, and I felt like my experience and my mission, I couldn't have gotten that experience any other way. And I'm so grateful that I served, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the whole world. And I believe that that Heavenly Father takes care of His missionaries.
I remember this one town that we were in, Tipton, Georgia. It's a small town. That was one of those towns that kind of seemed very segregated, and the elders weren't really tracting on the other side of town because it was pretty scary, almost. I mean, it was very poverty-stricken, a lot of projects, a lot of ghetto, and missionaries weren't so much well received on that side. So when me and my first companion got into that area, we whitewashed the area. That was like our first place we wanted to go, because there hadn't been any work put in there. So we ended up going down into that area, and it was weird because, I mean, we'd wave at people and people wouldn't wave at us. We'd knock on doors and people were intimidated by us because they weren't used to seeing that many white people down in that area. And I mean, we'd knock on doors, and some people, I mean, you'd hear the door slam, and then people run through the house, and you hear the back door slam, and then the back door open, and someone running down the street, and we'd have to yell out, "Hey, we're not the police," because a lot of people didn't even know we were missionaries. They thought we were the police, and sometimes they'd come back, like, "Oh, okay, cool," But in that part of town, it was hard because people didn't know who we were, number one, but number two, they were afraid that we were law enforcement. So there was this basketball court that we called the drug corners, because there was this ghetto basketball court in the middle of town, and on there was a house on every corner that sold drugs, or we thought sold drugs. 100% they sold drugs. So we call it the drug corners. And that's where all like the gangster type dudes hung out. I mean, like the hood guys that you see in movies that are like, pretty intimidating. And they would all play basketball. And every time we'd walk by there, we would get some of the meanest looks I've ever seen. And so we were praying and we were thinking, we're like, man, what can we do to like build a relationship of trust in this area and have people at least know who we are, that we're, church people and not cops, So I thought about it. We prayed about it. And then a few days after, I told my companion, I'm like, hey, when we go out today, wear your basketball shoes instead of your church shoes. He's like, okay. So we're wearing our full proselyting clothes. We've got our name tags on. We've got our ties on. We have our basketball shoes. And we walk down to this place we call it the drug corners. And, we're walking up to these guys. There must have been like 20 guys playing basketball or hanging around there. And we walked up and I stopped their game. And I said, okay, we got the next game. And they were like, what? And everybody stopped and they're like, the white boys want to play basketball? I'm like, yeah, we got the next game. So they stopped their game and they chose their best two. And I'm not a great basketball player, but my companion was pretty good. And we knew how to play team ball, So in the middle of the drug corners, we're playing basketball 2-on-2 against these guys, and they're trying to like dunk on us and they're trying to like, we're behind the back. And we're winning, we're playing team ball, putting it up. And every time that we like scored a point, it was like the project opened and people were flooding to this basketball court. There must have been like 200-300 people watching this basketball game. And every time that we scored a point, it's like people got louder and people are laughing and, cheering. And it was like the ghetto opened up and like everybody flooded to this place. And we ended up winning. And after that, I think I got a high five from everybody there, And after that, we went anywhere and everybody knew who we were. It's like, wait, you're the Mormon missionaries, right? You guys played basketball. Oh, come on, you guys thirsty? It's like everybody knew who we were. It's like all the guys were there to play basketball. Every time we'd ride our bikes by, they're, waving at us, hollering at us. And it was like through that experience, it was playing basketball and necessarily wasn't like a spiritual experience. But we got into that part of town that people hadn't really connected with. And it was like, they trusted us. They knew who we were. They liked us, and it opened a lot of doors. And one of my, my best experiences in the mission came from a lady in that area. And I don't know that I would have ever reached her had we not like played basketball with these guys in the middle of the ghetto,
So I was walking with Elder Hansen and Elder Golson in Chabadovsk. This is my second area, probably my fourth transfer or so. And it was a beautiful day in Chabadovsk. And the city's really cool. There's a big sidewalk that kind of goes through the heart of the main road. So there's like one lane goes, traffic goes this way, traffic goes this way over here. And there's like this park that just like goes down and like, mirrors the road. And Russians love parks and trees and like random play gyms everywhere. And they have basketball courts too, which for me, being a basketball enthusiast, I loved. So happens Elder Hansen played basketball up in Montana. And Elder Goldson's a tall, lanky guy from back east, down south area. And he loved to play too. And so there we were. And off, we're walking through this big sidewalk, and off to the side a little bit is a little blacktop with a basketball court. And some guys are playing on it. And they're like, "Hello, America!" We're like, "Hey, privyet," and just like, "Hey, we can speak Russian," is what we're saying. They're like, "Hey, you want to come shoot?" We're like, "Yeah, we're doing our thing. We're contacting." And this for me was a good eye opener of like thinking outside the box. Like when opportunity presents itself. So we're like, "Hey, we're gonna come over. We'll come shoot with you." And I'm not like, not the tallest guy in the world. 5'11" on a good day, 5'10" normally. But one thing that I really liked is I like jumping high. Okay, so this will come into play later. We start talking with them, and they have like their Dwight Howard jersey on. Some guys got a Melo jersey, LeBron James, and like these guys, they consider themselves some ballers, playing basketball. And so we like Elder Hansen gets the ball and he just like drains an outside shot, like, pretty lucky. Like, let's be honest, because you never make your first shot. And they're like, America, you good, yeah. And we're like, we're okay. And then like I think I shot a shot and it like went in. I was like, what are the odds, right? And so we're just asking for it. They're like, oh, America, good, huh? And then they start acting Russian. They're like, so you guys play basketball? We're like, yeah, once in a while. And we can't help but pass up a game. So we start playing and we're like, all right. So we take all our the white handbook and all the all the invitations, I should say, and everything else out of our pockets and put them to the side. And they're like, all right, tuck in the tie. We're like pretending like we're like okay, but deep down we're like, this is great. This is gonna be so fun. And so we're like, okay, let's go to 7, and like first one, 7 wins. Everything like, do we keep scores or competitive? Oh, whatever, They make the rules, their country. So we start playing. It's like 2-2, and it's kind of like neck and neck. We're like, we can't lose to these guys, right? And we kind of been whitewashed into this area, so we're like, we don't have a lot of like establishment, knowing a lot of people there. So we're trying to get our name out there to people. And then one of the big guys at the top of the key, and he does a little shake and bake and drives to the hoop. And I'm just like, I'm going to let him go past me, having him think he's got a wide open layup. So I'm just like, hey, and he goes past, and then I sneak up behind him, and he's going up for the layup. And I just like jump up, and like that's one thing I can do good in life sometimes. And I just like whack and like swat it against the backboard. And it was like with authority, like I made a statement. Like I was trying to like let him know, like, hey, you may be Russian, but hey, this is a fair game, And they were like, whoa, like their eyes are open, like get the ball back, kick it out the other Hansen, drains a 3, we're up like 4-2. And then before we know it, we're like running circles around them, like passing like Harlem Globetrotters. And they're like getting all like into like, David, like come on man, like start playing for real. We can't lose to these guys in white shirts. They got farmer tans and like they got walking legs and like zero definition, like we've lost everything. And we end up like beating them pretty well. Like it was like 7-2. I don't think they got a point after that. And it's just kind of like quiet, and they're like, and then we're just like, well, hey, we'll be here on Saturday. Do you want to play? By the way, we got English Club in church. And they're like, really? So we start talking to them. And by then all their buddies had came by and were watching. And they're like, oh, who got beat by the Americans? And we ended up establishing like a Saturday afternoon sports day. And we got a lot of street cred in the city for like the Americans that beat these like street ball guys. And one of the guys we worked with, he actually quit smoking because we had talked to him about like what we believe, and he felt really motivated to do it. And they stopped swearing more and more, and we actually said, can we start with a prayer, like something we do, and explain more about that. And we started doing spiritual thought before, and it led into a lot of great stuff. But it all started with a little pickup game and shaking off the rust of some basketball and taking care of business in Russia. So it was really fun. It was good. Yeah.
The mission was really revolutionized by a former BYU basketball star, Kresimir Cosic. His jersey is actually still up in the Marriott Center. He came to BYU as a student. He wasn't a member, but he investigated the church, was really good friends with a member of the 12 Apostles. I can't remember who it was at the time. It might have even been President Benson, but I can't remember. And then he just basically brought what he learned from the church after he converted and brought it to Croatia to start out with, because he's Croatian. He was also the one who translated the Book of Mormon into Croatian, and that's what I used for the majority of the mission. We didn't get the Serbian copy of the Book of Mormon until I was about to leave in 2008. That's when we first got that copy, and it was a huge blessing to receive the Book of Mormon in their language. But the Croatian copy sufficed. It was good enough to to use while we were missionaries. But Kresimir Cosic probably did more for the saints in former Yugoslavia, in revolutionizing and really getting things started in that part of the country. Sadly, he died of cancer in the 90s. I think it was the late 90s, I believe, but he was one of the great working hands to get it going. And President Monson worked with Kresimir Cosic and dedicated the land, all of former Yugoslavia, starting in Croatia, for missionary work. That's kind of where it blossomed, bloomed, and the power of the Spirit and of missionary work got started.